It was Monday night, February 9th, 2026, and the 5 p.m. ransom deadline in Tucson had come and gone without the resolution so many had prayed for. No new message had been made public, no confirmation, no visible progress. The silence felt heavier than any headline. In the middle of that quiet uncertainty, another development unfolded far from Arizona. At 86 years old, Tom Brokaw, the steady voice who once guided viewers through wars, elections, and national tragedies on NBC Nightly News, gathered a small circle of former colleagues in his New York home. There were no cameras, no press releases, and no prepared statements. Just coffee, close friends, and reflections that had clearly lived in his heart for years. What he shared was not sensational. It was deeply human, and it reframed how many would come to see Savannah Guthrie in this painful moment. A relationship forged in quiet observation. Tom began not with accusation, but with memory. He recalled meeting Savannah when she was still new at 30 Rockefeller Plaza, ambitious yet composed, eager yet careful. Even then, he sensed something distinctive about her discipline. He described it gently, saying she carried her mother's voice within her, not sentimentally, but structurally. It was as though every decision passed through an internal filter shaped long ago. He did not criticize her upbringing, nor did he diminish it. Instead, he suggested that her steadiness was not spontaneous strength, but cultivated endurance. Over decades of newsroom observation, Tom had watched how she handled pressure. Promotions, setbacks, breaking news crises, her demeanor rarely cracked. What many viewers interpreted as natural confidence, he saw as something more deliberate, almost rehearsed by life itself long before any television camera turned in her direction. The parenting philosophy that shaped her. At the heart of Tom's reflections was Savannah's mother, Nancy. Widowed young, she raised 3 children with determination and resolve. According to Tom, Nancy believed resilience was not optional but essential. The world, she felt, could be unforgiving, so her children needed to be stronger than circumstance. Tom emphasized that this was not cruelty but survival instinct. Yet that philosophy carried a quiet cost. Emotional restraint became a virtue. Composure became proof of character. Savannah, Tom suggested, absorbed that lesson early and deeply. Approval in that household was often linked to perseverance rather than vulnerability. The message was clear: handle it, fix it, keep moving. That pattern shaped not only Savannah's career but her identity. It helped her rise in competitive environments, but it also left little room for visible fragility when life demanded something softer. Watching the public please through a different lens, Tom invited those in his living room to reconsider Savannah's recent public appearances. In her carefully structured video statements, she thanked supporters, acknowledged investigators, described her mother's strength, and then delivered her plea. The tone was calm. The words were measured. Even when she said, "We will pay," her delivery carried clarity rather than collapse. Tom did not interpret that as coldness. Instead, he saw training. In his view, Savannah was responding exactly as she had been conditioned to respond, by controlling what she could control. For many daughters facing fear, emotion would spill over naturally. For Savannah, composure came first. It was how she honored her upbringing. It was how she believed she protected her mother's dignity. Through that lens, her restraint became not distance, but devotion expressed in the only language she fully trusted. Strength, conditioning, and the hidden toll. Tom spoke carefully when he described the difference between strength and conditioning. Over the years, he had seen Savannah show emotion only briefly before quickly regaining control. He did not portray this as weakness, nor as cold professionalism, but as habit. Conditioning can keep a person upright in crisis. It can provide structure when chaos threatens to overwhelm, yet it can also demand silence when comfort is needed. In this moment of uncertainty, Tom suggested that lifelong discipline was both sustaining her and exhausting her. The public saw poise. He saw effort. The light in her eyes, he said gently, appeared dimmer than before. She was holding steady, but at a cost invisible to most viewers. That tension between outer calm and inner strain became central to his reflections that afternoon. The fear of failing the unspoken standard. One question arose quietly among those listening. Was Savannah afraid of disappointing her mother even now? Tom's response was thoughtful rather than dramatic. He believed part of her still measured herself against an internal standard shaped in childhood. Not because her mother withheld love, but because love had long been expressed through achievement and resilience. When someone grows up equating composure with worthiness, letting go can feel like failure. Tom speculated that Savannah might fear not solving the situation perfectly, not moving fast enough, not speaking clearly enough. That imagined verdict, he suggested, could weigh heavily. In this interpretation, her calm was not only strategic, it was personal. It represented decades of striving to meet expectations she had internalized so completely that they now felt inseparable from her identity. If the outcome is joyful or devastating. Tom did not predict outcomes. He simply reflected on possibilities with compassion. If Nancy were to return home safely, he hoped it would bring more than relief. He hoped it might also open space for a new kind of conversation between mother and daughter, one that allowed softness where strength once dominated. And if events unfolded painfully, he believed Savannah would continue to stand tall publicly. She would thank helpers, speak clearly, and return to work. But privately, he worried she might carry an undeserved sense of personal failure. That was the part that troubled him most, the idea that she could interpret uncontrollable tragedy as insufficient performance. His words were less warning than prayer, that whatever happens, she might one day release herself from the burden of earning approval through perfection. A broader human story beneath the headlines. What Tom ultimately shared was not an expose, but a human study. Beneath news alerts and investigative updates lies a daughter navigating fear in the only way she has ever known. Savannah Guthrie is more than a television anchor. She is a product of a parenting philosophy rooted in endurance, shaped by loss and refined by decades of high-stakes journalism. Her composure is real, but so is the emotional labor behind it. Tom's quiet gathering did not aim to shift blame or stir speculation. It sought to deepen understanding. As the search continues and hope remains, perhaps the greater lesson is about compassion, recognizing that visible strength often conceals invisible effort. And when resolution finally arrives, in whatever form it does, perhaps the most healing words she could hear are simple: "You were always enough."